It is hard to generate enthusiasm for healing the afflictions of your mind or for devoting yourself to virtuous mental activity. Once you are free of such mental dysfunction, you can focus your mind without resistance on any meaningful object or task. And such a mind is now set to be fit or serviceable. This is the key to achieving optimal mental performance. Following this sense of pressure on the top of your head, you experience the movement of vital energies moving in your body. And when they have coursed everywhere throughout your body, you feel as if you are filled with the power of this dynamic energy. You are now freed of physical dysfunction, so your body feels buoyant and light like never before. And that's symbolized by the person flying through the sky. It's said that when we achieve this goal of shamatha, it's said that our body feels light like cotton. Both your body and mind are now imbued with an exceptional degree of pliancy, which makes them remarkably fit for engaging in all kinds of mental training and other meaningful activities. When physical pliancy initially arises, the vital energies catalyze an extraordinary sense of physical bliss, which then triggers an equally exceptional experience of mental bliss. This rush of physical and mental rapture is transient, which is a good thing, for it so captivates the attention you can do little else except enjoy it. Gradually it subsides and you are freed from the turbulence caused by this intense joy. Your attention settles down in perfect stability and clarity. You have now achieved shamatha. One more diagram up the top here. We see now the meditator on the elephant of the mind, and in their right hand is a sword. This is the sword of wisdom. So this is symbolizing here the vipassana practice. Meaning, on the basis of shamatha, on the basis of a calm, clear and focused mind, now we use the sword of wisdom to investigate the nature of reality, to cut through ignorance and mental afflictions and overcome suffering. So what this doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that we have to achieve shamatha, this single point of concentration, before we begin our vipassana practice. What it does mean, though, is that unless we put some effort into the vipassana practice, unless we develop a more calm, clear and focused mind, unless we do that, we can put a lot of time and energy into the vipassana practice and not really get anywhere, because our mind is constantly distracted and half asleep. One other thing I'd like to mention in this diagram, which can be important, and it touches a little bit on what we looked at earlier about creativity. Over in the side here, halfway up, you see the monkey in the tree holding some fruit. And underneath the monkey is number 19. And if we go over the back, number 19 says, since virtuous thoughts are an interruption at the time of shamatha meditation, it is necessary to stop them. At other times, it is not necessary. Which means that when we start to get deeper into the shamatha practice and our mind starts to get more calm, more clear, more focused, because of that, what you will find more and more in your meditation, great ideas will just pop out of nowhere. And what this monkey in the tree here is saying is this is not the right time to entertain those thoughts. So if a great idea comes and then you follow it, that's a distraction. So therefore, what's recommended here is if some great idea pops up in your shamatha meditation, you go, good, great idea, I'll look at that after the meditation and then go back to the object. If you're worried about forgetting that great idea, then you can have a little notepad next to your table where you meditate and then write down one or two key words so you remember it and then go back to the shamatha meditation. Because if every time some great idea comes up, you entertain it, you'll find that you'll get stuck in the shamatha practice, you won't go further. So that's what the monkey in the tree is talking about. Of course, there's a lot more to be said about this diagram, but that's just some of the points. So anyone have any questions about the diagram here?
When you reach the higher stages, would you say that acting wisdom, you are there? Or you have to...
Good question. 2 points. One is, what does it mean to be at a particular stage? For example, stage 3 means you can hold the object 5 or 10 minutes. If you get distracted, you quickly come back. To be at that stage, it means that's your normal average experience. That normally in your practice, that's normally what happens. Sometimes you may be ahead of that. So in some meditations, you may be able to hold the object the entire session without ever losing it. Some other times, maybe you get a little bit more distracted. But if that's your average experience, that's what it means to be at that stage. If we get to a particular stage and we stop meditating, are we going to stay there? I like to use the analogy of going to the gym. If we go to the gym and we achieve a certain level of fitness and we stop going to the gym, are we going to stay at that level of fitness? No. But if we get to a certain level of fitness, and usually we have to put a lot of effort to get to that level, to maintain that level, we just need a minimum amount of exercise to maintain. If we want to go further, more effort. But we need a minimum effort to maintain it. I think it's a similar idea here. If we get to a certain level, then we need a certain minimum practice to maintain. If we want to go further, then more effort, like that.
You referred to the state of shamatha as a state. What are the attributes of that state?
Sorry, the shamatha is a particular level of concentration,
Yeah.
and then?
So what are the attributes of that state?
What do you mean by
You
attributes?
said that you at that level you've reached the level of shamatha.
Right.
So what does it mean?
Right. In the experience itself, the mind is completely still, completely clear, and very joyful. So usually they talk about 3 qualities or attributes in that state. That in that state, the mind is extremely clear. Non-conceptuality means complete stillness, and it's a very blissful state in the meditation. Now, in the shamatha practice, as we move along the various stages, we're going to start to have a little taste of these. Even as a beginner, sometimes we may find our mind is very clear. Sometimes we may find it's very still. Sometimes it may be quite blissful. So we'll start to get a little taste of this. But unfortunately what often happens is people go, oh, that's so nice, I like that, I want that. And then they try and grab hold of that, craving and attachment. And of course the whole practice comes to a grinding halt. So rather than get caught up in craving and attachment to these experiences, use them as signposts that our practice is going in the right direction. Because each one of them enables us to go deeper into the practice. So don't get caught up in them craving and attachment. The other thing, of course, is to not misinterpret these experiences, particularly this one. It's very easy to misinterpret this as some transcendent experience of the nature of reality. Because also, in experience of emptiness, it's also non-conceptual experience. But here, non-conceptual just means our mind is still. It doesn't mean we've actually realized anything. So we need to be very careful not to misinterpret these experiences, particularly this one. And that often happens, And then what attributes, if we've achieved shamatha, what attributes are there outside of that meditation? Is that we find that naturally the mind is much more calm, clear and focused in daily life, of course. We find that it's a lot harder for dullness and distraction to arise, and we find that the mental afflictions, attachment, aversion, jealousy, it's much more difficult for them to arise because of that state of mind. So there are a lot of flow-on benefit from this experience outside of the meditation in daily life as well. Got time for one more question. Yeah. So the elephant's head turning backwards in stage 3 means that when we get distracted, we quickly recognize that and come back to the object very quickly. Oh, why is it facing the other direction? Not sure. Maybe it looks better that way. Maybe one, that just came into my mind now actually, maybe, this is my speculation, is that if we look at the numbers there's 2 numbers, 32 and 33. It says, 32 says, the root of samsara is cut by the union of shamatha and vipassana observing emptiness. Which means we need to unify shamatha and vipassana. So my speculation, which just popped into my mind now, is they're facing each other because we need to unify them. But that was just my idea, it just popped into my head now. There may be, again, it may be just an aesthetic thing that it looks better in that direction rather than sort of off to the side of the page. I don't know, is the answer. Huh? Sorry?
It's an old view diagram.
This is a very old diagram. The stages that are described in this diagram, the actual diagram I'm not sure of, but the actual stages of the diagram, often we study from a Sangha who I quoted from the 4th century. So these 9 stages are certainly described there. Whether the diagram existed or it came later to visually describe those stages, I don't know. But certainly this exists from early Tibetan Buddhism. But whether it's the diagram is coming earlier, I don't know.
So it's very old.
Oh yeah, it's a very old diagram, yeah.
There's a diagram of catching the bull, just like this.
Catching the...
The bull, the cow.
Oh, the ox herding from the Zen tradition. Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of talking about the whole path, whereas this is really talking just about shamatha practice. Yeah, the 10 ox herding pictures, yeah. Okay. It's time for dinner, so let's take a break for dinner and we'll come back this evening at 7:30.